Screencast 10. Expressions and expressionable properties. So, we're going to open up Visual Studio. In my last screencast, I had two designs. I'm going to delete that second design and go back to our original one, which just shows the customers. So, you probably noticed there are two parameters here. That's again because there are two data sets. I'm going to go ahead and just remove the parameter and the data set for inventory, just to keep this simple. So I delete the parameter there, the data set, and I'll delete that parameter. And go back to preview. Okay, see, only one parameter now. So the topic of this screencast is expressions and expressionable properties. What that really means is, essentially, how does a piece of text get rendered into the report? If you look at the auto design, you'll notice very simply here that in the design there's a title, right? Now I haven't entered anything in the value, so what was chosen for us was auto design 1, which is just the name of the report. I could have typed in, let's say, foobar, and then go back to preview, and you'll see foobar appears here. Fair enough? Now, title is a good starting point for the topic of expressions, because title is a property that is expressionable. In other words, its value can be computed at runtime. This is a static string, essentially a static value. It'll never change during any execution of the report. It'll always be foobar. But what if I wanted something that was calculated, like I didn't know it at design time, right? So use expressions for that. Now I could type in, an expression would look something like equals, let's say, something, right? I could say equals foo plus bar. Let's see what happens, right? So that's a formula, so to speak. And if I preview it, you see foo bar, it's the same thing. And just to make sure you're clear that it's in fact an expression, I'll reverse the strings to say bar plus foo. Go back to the preview, bar foo. Okay, you can see the formula. So you can directly enter an expression and edit it there. Or you can drop this down and you'll see expressionable properties have this little expression option. And you'll get what we call the expression editor. And there's, equals bar or foo. I could just type in, let's say, what happens if I just type in foo bar like that, right? And of course you'll see it this way. Go back here. But if you want to compute it, you'll just say equals something, right? And let's pick, down here you'll see common functions, which is very useful. Let's say we want to make something capital, like capitalized letters, right? So we'll say, where is it here? UCase. We'll click on UCase, and here, right, you get a little bit of IntelliSense, and we'll say foobar. Notice I added a space in there, right? So it's lowercase foobar, but when it shows up in the report, it's going to be uppercase. And you can see the formula there. Preview, uppercase. Perfect. Now, I showed you this in the title, and I'm going to show it in some other places. But whenever you see a property here, you should always drop this down and see if it's expressionable. Render parameters, for example, is not expressionable. It's part of the design, and you can't change it at runtime. And there are things like that in the reports. So, for example, you can't change the width of a column or the height of the page. Physical things like that you can't change. But the styling of text or the value of a text box you can change, right? Let's take advantage of this. I'll go ahead and just change the title back to empty, which will go back to the report title, Auto Design 1. And what I'm going to do is, if you look at the preview, you'll see there's customer count, name, and customer group. I'm going to show you how to use expressions to create a new computed value. In this case, I'm going to add essentially an uppercase version of the name. So I'll expand this node called data. And these are the three fields you see in the preview, right? Account, name, and group. Account num, name, and cust group. So what I'm going to do is actually add a new column by right-clicking on data and adding a field, right? It just says field 1. So I'll just call this upper name, right? Now if I render this right now, what'll happen? And you don't see anything, right? Why don't you see anything? Well, first of all, I don't have a caption. So let's put in a caption, upper name. Okay, there's the caption, but there are no values, right? So how do I get a value in there? And the answer is take a look at the other data fields. Now this is going to be upper name, so I'll look at the name field, and you'll see that there's actually an expression, which is equals fields, bang, name.value, right? If I drop this down, you'll see account num.value, name.value, cust group.value. So clearly this is relative to the data set that the data region is bound to. So I'll copy this, because that's what I want to see first. Go to upper name, and I'll just paste it in. Control V to paste. And let's preview. Okay, so name says, let's say, the first one's Forest Wholesales, and upper name also contains the same value. That's exactly expected. Now let's do the transformation to make it uppercase. So again, I'll do equals ucase, that value. And then, you see now, Forest Wholesales is now uppercase in this column. Okay? And just as another example, let's try computing cust group. Let's just multiply it by 10. We'll add a new field, right? And I'll call this cust group 2. And for the caption, I'll call it cust group 2 as well. And let's preview. You'll just see the caption on top. Well, there's no value. Let's add a value. And this time I won't copy and paste. I'll do this manually. So there's nothing in the expression. Drop this down. I can pick something here, but instead I'm actually going to expression, the expression editor. And what I want to do is do some math. Let's try the simplest case of math I can, which is what happens if I do 1 plus 2, right? So it's going to be 3. What will happen? There you go, 3 everywhere, right? So we can see clearly the math is involved. Now let's make it relevant, or sorry, relative to the actual cust group. I want to multiply the cust group by 10, let's say, or I don't know, by 3, let's say. So how do I do that? So I'll say equals 3 times, and what happens here is I'll go to fields, there's cust group, and I double clicked on it, and you see fields bang cust group.value, and then see what happens. Preview. Okay, see, 10 became 30, right? And if you go to the second page, you'll see that 80 became 240. So that's an example of how you use expressions to dynamically compute values.